Welcome back. Happy Saturday afternoon, everyone. Another same day posting here. I am just going to explain that once again, what if I told you that local knowledge means everything? Well, and I'm going to get a little bit more specific on that point today. And so I'm going to start with the national numbers as far as market share between the various food delivery providers, and I'm going to let you take over from there and adjust accordingly. On a national level, DoorDash controls 69% of the delivery market. Uber Eats controls 23% of it, which leaves 8% for Grubhub. Now, I'm sure nobody's market is going to be exactly the same, as I have always talked about some of the specifics and peculiarities of my market, which is Forest Lake, Minnesota. Now, in Forest Lake, I believe that the real numbers, as far as this is concerned, from my own sampling, of course, a sampling is not a scientific survey, for example, but it's probably more like 90% DoorDash and 10% Uber, as far as the delivery market is concerned. Grubhub has 0, of course, because Grubhub does not service our market at all. The closest, because I tried to sign up for Grubhub to deliver for them here, and the closest city that Grubhub delivers to around here is Blaine, which is about 15 miles southwest of Forest Lake, and it's probably the major northern suburb of the Twin Cities metropolitan area. So that's the closest they come. When I'm in a market where it's best to take orders out of my own home, I'm not going to drive 15 miles to do it for an app that only has 8% of the market nationally. And up there is probably, I'm going to guess that it's probably even less than that. Although, what do I know? I just deliver in Forest Lake. So the fact that I have found it to be about a 90 to 10 to 0 market share split here, my priority is obviously DoorDash. And before Uber got rid of the tip baiting scheme as of about a week and a half ago, for a long time, DoorDash was basically almost my only platform. The only reason why I ever took orders on Uber were for Walmart delivery orders and for a pet food chain that we have around here called Chuck and Don's. Those are the only 2 orders that I would take. They're still my primary acceptance on the Uber app. However, Home Depot has basically entered the chat nowadays on both platforms. And so, for whatever reason, I get more of those on the Uber platform than the DoorDash one, although DoorDash does have them. Now, with those particular stores, I'm okay with stacked orders because stacked orders do not affect your rating nearly as much when you're delivering non-food items, such as Home Depot, Walmart, or Chuck and Don's, or any type of pet food chain. We have PetSmart here as well. So I will add that as well. So stacked orders are not as nefarious on those, so I can accept those, okay. With Walmart, it usually is 2 or 3 orders per trip. Home Depot, it's usually 2, occasionally 3. But usually 2. Occasionally you get a solo Home Depot, but it doesn't happen that often. You usually need to get 2 in order for the miles and for the expenses to add up correctly for you. And with Chuck and Don's, it's normally 2. I've almost never gotten a 3. I need a 3 deliveries on that. So we'll settle on that. And so you want to know your market as well as you possibly can, especially how the market share works with your specific apps. So you want to know things like that. You also want to know, how the restaurants deal with these. A comment on an earlier video of mine was said something to the effect that a lot of restaurants don't prioritize delivery orders, which is true, by the way. I found that to be very true in my experience. And so what that means is we have probably the premier sit-down restaurant in the Forest Lake area. My wait times there tend to run about half an hour. I almost never accept them anymore. And again, I think the previous comment about restaurants not prioritizing orders, I think in the case, I'm just going to name them here. Mallards is their name. So Mallards, for example, is a very well-known and very popular sit-down restaurant here in town. And Mallards, I think, came into the delivery game about the same way everyone else did, and that was the pandemic. They needed it to survive back then, but they don't need it anymore because they have rebuilt it. They have rebuilt their restaurant business, which is very, very busy for a not very huge space. It's not a monstrosity of a restaurant. It's not tiny either. It's not like a two-seater cafe, but it's got a fair amount of seating, but it's not monstrosity. So they don't have a whole lot of real estate that they need to address, but they do a very good business in their dining room. So their delivery orders are not a priority. It's kind of a extra income for them, and maybe something they do just as kind of a nicety for some of their more regular customers, but they do not prioritize us at all. As I've said before, wait times at this one typically run in the 30-minute range. And you're just like, well, that's ridiculous. Why would you wait 30 minutes for an order? Well, because I don't always wait the 30 minutes, but if I do accept it, it's because the tip, the mileage, was very substantially worth it. Super worth it. I'm talking about, go 5 miles around the lake for maybe a $30 order. That much worth it. Very much over the $1.44 per mile I'm looking to break even on a trip. This shoots the moon over all that. So those orders, I'll wait the half an hour if I need to. But if it's not that good of an order to begin with, I typically don't accept it at all. So many restaurants don't take the delivery bit seriously because it's not a substantial part of their business. And they came into it because of the pandemic. They needed it during the pandemic in order to survive. Places like Mallards no longer do. So it's we're kind of second fiddle compared to their dine-in business. And I will leave it at that for now. Again, I take orders while I film. And that was a crap order from Uber Eats. So you just watch me hit the decline button once again. $7 for a 10-mile trip. No bueno, not the $1.44 I'm looking for. So that said, know your market, know your restaurants, know their quirks, know their details. Take physical notes if you have to, like I did for my wait time analysis, or just keep them in your mind like I do with the rest. So for that analysis, of course, I track that on notes on my notes app and calculated those times accordingly to get to the 12-minute per average wait in Forest Lake. So anyhow, that's it for now. I will see you tomorrow morning, and as always, peace out, homies.